Ruben Amorim is very keen on a reunion with Viktor Gyökeres with reports of a done deal, but where are those stories coming from? We're going to run through all the latest there. United have made an offer for Franco Mastantuono. Christopher Vivell is on a scouting mission in France. United face growing competition for Ederson. Amorim's priority reveal why Onana might stay. United's transfer budget is revealed, and a big injury blow ahead of tomorrow's clash with Bilbao. This is all your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Welcome to the channel. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video. Let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with the injury news ahead of the clash for tomorrow. So one of the blows is that Nico Williams has been passed fit to play for Atletico Bilbao against Manchester United on Thursday. He's been out for, I think, a couple of weeks with an injury, and it was always going to be touch and go whether he was going to be fit for the clash tomorrow night. But according to Paul Hurst in the Times, who's a good source, Nico Williams has been passed fit to play for Bilbao. Whether he's going to start or not, obviously only time will tell regarding that as well. But that's a bit of a blow for, like, we can't even catch a break with injuries for the opponents in games at the moment as well. So that's a bit of a kind of blow for him to be available. But, you know, it is what it is. Can't change it. Can't do anything about it. If they've got players available, they've got players available. We're just going to have to, you know, defend a bit better with him on the pitch, because he is arguably their best player, and they're definitely their key kind of man and their danger man as well. So that's a little bit of a blow, especially with Dalot being out as well. So we're going to have to keep an eye on him. I imagine Mazraoui will play at right wing back, you know, and so I'd be kind of cool with that as well, because Mazraoui's, you know, been one of our best players this season as well. But yeah, bit of a blow that Williams has been passed fit and is available for the match tomorrow night. Right, and let's move on to some transfer news. But loads of kind of transfer noise. I'm going to say take some of these stories with a pinch of salt firstly before we kind of get into them. But let's go through all the latest. So Manchester United are on the brink of completing the signing of sporting superstar Viktor Gyökeres, according to Football Insider. Sources have told Football Insider that United are confident the deal is a done deal after weeks of behind-the-scenes negotiations. The 26-year-old Swedish striker has been United's top attacking target ever since Amorim's arrival, with the two enjoying a strong relationship from their time together at Sporting. Now, that came originally from Footy Insider. Now, Footy Insider, I would say, take with a pinch of salt. They're not the most credible source. They're a gossip, rumour, stroke outlet. The actual kind of journalist that reported there is not, you know, anyone of any kind of credibility, in my opinion, as well. So I would say take that story with a big fat pinch of salt. Obviously, it has gone a little bit quiet on the Gyökeres news. The reports were from the more credible kind of places was that, you know, he's at his age. He doesn't see United as the club for him because he wants to go to a club that's in the Champions League. And it's more of a stable kind of environment because he's going to be 27 soon. And at his stage in his career, he doesn't necessarily want to take a step to a club that's a project where they're going to be developing for the next 2 or 3 years. He wants to go to a club, apparently, that's kind of ready to go so he can kind of win trophies and, you know, compete in the Champions League and stuff like that as well at his age, which is fair enough. So that was always the kind of latest regarding Gyökeres, and the reports linking him with United have gone really, really quiet. Although, you know, he would be my ideal striker signing, you know, to kind of bring in. Obviously, we know he's got the relationship with Amorim and stuff as well, but that specific story, I would say take with a pinch of salt. However, Florian Plettenberg, who has been, you know, who can be a good source, but mainly more for like German, Bayern Munich kind of news. Anything outside of that, I would say, again, he can be hit and miss. However, he was saying, though, that there is still an agreement between Manchester United and there's still no agreement between Manchester United and Viktor Gyökeres. He has not given the green light yet. Concrete talks have already taken place with Ruben Amorim very keen on a reunion. Other big clubs in the race as well. So Florian Plettenberg suggesting that, you know, we are still in talks with Viktor Gyökeres. Ruben Amorim wants him, but the more credible sources are saying that Liam Delap is our number one striker kind of target, and we're putting all of our eggs in the kind of Delap basket. That's come from Ornstein, Romano, Laurie Whitwell. I mean, the three big hitters, in my opinion, when it comes to United, have all said that Delap is the number one striker option. So again, Florian Plettenberg, who can be kind of hit and miss, more hit when it comes to German, Bayern Munich, like those sort of players. Anything outside of that, he can be a little bit missy. But he is a good kind of he's a decent kind of source as well, suggesting that talks are still in place with Viktor Gyökeres, and that Amrin would be keen on a union, which a reunion, but why would he not be? Being completely truthful with you. But then Christopher Michael, who is a good source, has said that to have a good chance of attaining Viktor Gyökeres, Manchester United would have to win the Europa League this season. The player wants a club who will play in the Champions League next season. And I can't blame Viktor Gyökeres for doing that at his age. He's at that age where, he's playing regularly in the Champions League under Sporting. He's one of the best strikers in the world in terms of his numbers are insane. So I can't blame Viktor Gyökeres at his age wanting to go to play in the Champions League. So again, is this one, I need help with the Gyökeres kind of news, right? Because obviously the main hitters, the big kind of journalists out there, Romano Ornstein, Laurie Whitwell, are all saying it's Liam Delap, and the news around Gyökeres has gone quiet. So whether this is a bit of bandwagon jumping because Footy Insider have come out and done a report, so therefore some of the other kind of journalists are doing it for clickbait, that could be a possibility. Or are United looking at it to say, well, let's see, if we do get Champions League, can we get Viktor Gyökeres? And maybe there's some kind of agreement where we said, okay, well, if we do get Champions League, would you want to come? Are we looking at that as an option? Obviously, we'll have to wait and see. I'd want to see a bit more credibility, though, before getting excited about the Gyökeres. And I want Gyökeres as well, so I could get really excited about these kind of stories and links. But I'm reserving a little bit of judgment because I just want to see a bit more credibility for the links, be it, in my opinion, and that's my personal opinion on it as well. But you will obviously have yours. I'm sure you're going to share them in the comments below. Now, striker that is believed to be our number one option choice is Liam Delap. So Ben Jacobs had the following to say on the Delap situation. So Liam Delap is expected to prioritise European football, whereas Matheus Cunha is prepared to join Manchester United without it. Delap is likely to wait to see who has what come the end of the season. Still likely to be a quick transfer, as all suitors prepared to trigger the clause, and Delap expected to pick his next club before heading off to the Under-21 Championship. Now, that annoys me with Liam Delap in the opposite way that I can respect Gyökeres for wanting to go to a Champions League club because of his age and his kind of, he's one of the best strikers in the world at the moment. And at his age, 27 years old, he probably does, time's ticking for him in terms of he's at that coming towards the turning point in his career. I wouldn't say it's at the end of his career. He could go on for another 10 years, at the top, maybe even beyond, right? But, is at that kind of point where actually maybe he does want to play. But for Liam Delap, who's had one Premier League season, to be a bit picky around European football and stuff when he's never played Champions League, never played European football, and that's going to make his kind of decision actually is a bit of a red flag for me if that story is to be believed. But Ben Jacobs can be a little bit hit and miss. He's been all right recently, though, all over the Cunha news, breaking that as well. So he's been a lot more kind of hit than miss recently. But that is a bit of a red flag for me for Delap because they're at different stages in their kind of career. Because, like I said, Liam Delap's 22, he's had one breakthrough season in the Premier League, and now you're kind of demanding Champions League football or European football as well. It seems a little bit of a concern for me. That would be a bit of a red flag personally, but. And it's an odd situation for United, isn't it? Because Delap's seen as our number one kind of option, yet you've got Gyökeres that is available as well. And he's maybe seen as the backup should we get Champions League football. You'd have thought it'd be the other way round, but obviously United, they clearly have an idea and a plan and something where they're like, these are the profile of players that we want, and there's got to be something in it, because I'm sure they haven't just sat there and threw darts on a dartboard with players on there and said, right, okay, whoever we hit with a dartboard we're going to go for. There must be some kind of thinking behind the signings and transfers as well, but whether it's budget wise as well, because obviously we know Delap's 30 million, Gyökeres is going to be about 60 million as well, so you're getting a younger player for half the price of what Gyökeres would be. So that's obviously one to that's one of the reasons why Delap is so desirable. English, homegrown. It's a good opportunity. I actually, and I don't think he's a good player, Delap. I think he would kind of improve us personally. But I know there's some of you in the comments that have massive question marks around Liam Delap as well. But we're just going to have to see how it plays out, and we'll wait for a bit more credibility than the stories that are coming out at the moment. Like this next one. So Graham Bailey obviously hasn't read the memo regarding Victor Osimhen, saying that Manchester United is still interested in Victor Osimhen this summer, but there are some concerns about a deal at Old Trafford. Osimhen has a release clause of just over £60 million at Napoli, the price tag that the Italian side would like to be met. United are concerned about such a significant layout on one player this summer. like a deal for Osimhen would demand. So Graham Bailey, I have always said he's a hit and miss journalist. Obviously, he hasn't updated himself with the news that Ornstein and Romano have both come out saying that Premier League clubs are a little bit worried about Osimhen because of his wage demands and, you know, personality and stuff like that, as well as what David Ornstein was saying as well. I did read somewhere that I don't know whether this is true or not, but I'm sure I read a story that the Saudi Pro League are preparing to offer him a £750,000 a week contract, and United want him to take a pay cut to come to United as well. So it's one of those. But yeah, another Osimhen story as well. But I would say take that with a massive pinch of salt, because we know that Osimhen's, you know, Ornstein and Romano have both said no for Osimhen and United. But yeah, give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Now, another interesting profile of player, Mastantuono. There's been a lot of stories regarding him over the last couple of days. So Manchester United, Real Madrid and PSG have all made offers for Franco Mastantuono. Now, that came from a South American journalist via Sport Witness. I don't know the credibility personally, but suggesting that United, Real Madrid and PSG have all made offers for Mastantuono. Another South American journalist has said that PSG have open talks for Manchester United linked Franco Mastantuono. The French club have made him a priority and expressed its interest in signing him. It joins a long list of clubs that investigated and did not move forward. River Plate has, as we anticipated, wants to continue until the end of 2026. So another South American journalist suggesting that PSG have already opened talks to sign Franco Mastantuono. That'll be a bit of a bummer if obviously there is going to be competition for him. He's believed to be one of the best young players in the world, and you know, it's not hard to see why. The more research I do around him, the more highlights and clips and stuff I watch, the more I really like this player. This will be one where, you know, it'll be expensive because of his release clause and stuff, but if United don't get him in 3 or 4 years' time, we'll be sat here saying, why didn't we just pay that extra amount to get this kid in? Like, he's got that much potential, I think, as well. But again, another South American suggesting that PSG have opened talks for him. Chris Wheeler and Nave Soap from the Daily Mail, though, who are good sources, said that River Plate are working to tie Franco Mastantuono to a new contract as United, and a number of big European clubs continue to track the star's progress in Argentina. United scouts have been regular observers of Mastantuono, but Real Madrid and PSG are also keeping a close eye on the 17-year-old midfielder, who is regarded as one of the hottest young prospects in the game. And I would agree with that as well. I do think he's a very talented young player. Is it Ian Subiarbre is the other one that we're kind of linked with as well, another South American player. But again, it concerns me with this because we always miss out on these players. Like, United's history is linked with all these South American starlets that are available for decent prices, although I think Mastantuono is a little bit overpriced for his age and stuff, but clearly, you know, he's very highly regarded at River Plate. For him to have quite a high release clause, which is believed to be around 38 million euros. Romano was saying about 30 to 40, well, about 41 million euros, around that kind of price is his release clause, and that's quite high for, you know, obviously a 17-year-old. So he is very highly regarded, you know, by River Plate as well. So there's clearly something in that. But this is the sort of player that we would miss out on. We'd get linked with, get all excited about, and then PSG get him, or he goes to Benfica or Chelsea or Real Madrid, and then in a few years' time, we're like, why didn't we just go? Why weren't we all over that kind of deal? So I can see similarities with Mastantuono, and I'd like to see that change. I'd like to see us get into this market, because there are some fantastic talents there as well that are normally available at pretty decent prices as well. And I think Mastantuono is a good opportunity. Yes, a little bit more of an expensive one, but he is very talented. Talented as well, like I said, one of the hottest young prospects in the game, according to Chris Wheeler. And then Fabrizio Romano, though, has said that Manchester United and Chelsea are interested in Franco Mastantuono and well informed on his situation. Real Madrid are not pursuing him at the current deal conditions. It's an open race. So Romano saying that United and, of course, Chelsea, because they need young wingers. They haven't just signed a left-footed, you know, right winger that could come inside and that is very talented in Giovanni Kenda, and they're getting another young Brazilian winger as well, exactly the same kind of model. So it would make sense for Chelsea to need another player exactly the same as the two young players that they're already going to be signing in the future as well. So that makes perfect sense for Chelsea to be in the running for Mastantuono. But interestingly, that Real Madrid will not be pursuing him at that price, because it's believed to be, it's not going to be a cheap. This will be like a Lenny Yoro type deal, I think, around the fees and stuff, because Romano was saying about agent fees, the release clause, taxes, wages, all of that kind of stuff. So this isn't going to be one that's going to be like a cheap 5 million, like a Diego Leon type signing where it's going to be cheap. This is going to be an expensive signing if we go for it, and I think it'll be like a Lenny Yoro type deal where we go all in for what's believed to be one of the best players around, because Yoro, when we signed him, was touted as the best defender in Europe, if not the world, for his kind of age group. And I think Mastantuono would be the same. So I think it'll be around that kind of fee, but by the time you chuck in all the agent fees and wages and stuff like that as well. But, let me know in the comments, is he worth that? Would he be worth kind of investing that sort of money on Mastantuono? I think I'd like to see us sign him, because I do think he's got really, really high potential. But obviously it's a risk. It is a risk, but all transfers are a risk. But yeah, give us your thoughts on Mastantuono in the comments. Now let's go through some of the stories I am going to say take with a pinch of salt straight away. So Manchester United have scouted Désiré Doué once more, as Christopher Vivell's collaborators were present during the French champions' recent contest against Nantes and Nice. Nice actually beat PSG. I think it was 3-1. Now that came from Ekrem Conor. Now Ekrem Conor is I'm still yet to be convinced by Ekrem Conor, okay, because he's got a very, very large following. He's got like 250,000 followers, has worked for the BBC and ESPN, places like this, right? But he has linked us with about 1 million players over the last couple of weeks, which in my opinion totally kind of devalues his credibility, because he's just linking us with that many players. And it's like, well, come on, we can't be interested in all of these players. There might be they might be on the list though. You don't know. So he's a bit of a weird one for me, where I'm going to say take him with a pinch of salt, because until I can kind of confirm his credibility, I just think he's a kind of clickbait merchant where he's just putting stories out for clicks and popularity. And, that's how it kind of feels to me. Correct me if you think I'm wrong though in the comments. I'm always happy to hear, your opinion on these things as well. It's not just, I'm just a dude with a microphone, right? So, but, as much as I've said that, Désiré Doué would be an outstanding signing, but there's no way PSG are going to sell, one of the best young players in the world that they've just paid 50 million quid for, or 50 million euros or whatever it was. Do you know what I mean? After he's having an outstanding season at his age, and then United are really going to have the money available to go and do that. I don't know. Maybe there's a couple of other players though that we were potentially looking at as well, not just necessarily PSG. Maybe we are scouting the kind of French market as well. If Christopher Vivell has been kind of doing his, scouting mission in France, which stands to reason. So there could be other players that he could be looking at as well. And Doué would be one that I would absolutely take in a heartbeat. But do I believe that story? Personally, no. I'm going to say take it with a pinch of salt for me personally. But you can let me know what you think in the comments. Because Ekrem Conor has also linked us with Ryan Cherki. So Manchester United and Tottenham are leading the race to sign Cherki. Lyon have set an asking price of 30 to 35 million euros for Cherki, a figure that many top European clubs consider a bargain given his exceptional talent and quality. Now, that's one I could get behind, because I do like Cherki, and he would be way more affordable than Désiré Doué. But again, came from Ekrem Conor. So Ekrem Conor has linked us with scouting Désiré Doué, and now he's linked us with Ryan Cherki and also Lookman. So Manchester United remain strongly interested in signing Atalanta attacker Ademola Lookman as they plan a major rebuild of attack in the summer. Now, these are names that have been circulated as potential kind of targets for us. Lookman's been linked with us for a while. Cherki has. Désiré Doué has. Maybe not so much recently, but he was definitely a player we were looking at last season as well. And that's why I'm yet to be convinced by the credibility of where this story is coming from at Ekrem Conor, because in 3 days, he's linked us saying that we're scouting Désiré Doué, in the race for Cherki, and, plan and remain strongly interested in Lookman. So let us know what you think about that in the comments below. Now, one player that we are actually linked with by Fabrizio Romano from some credible sources is Ederson. So Manchester United, Man City and Atletico Madrid, Juventus and Real Madrid are all closely monitoring Ederson. Atalanta have set a 75 million euro price tag for him, which is negotiable. Obviously, the reports before with Ederson were saying that it was going to be around 38 to 40 million pounds. So it's around 50 million euros, 75 million euros. That's 64 million pounds. I don't think we'll go anywhere near that sort of deal and that sort of price personally for Ederson. But interesting, that's again come from a decent South American journalist as well. And if there's that sort of teams and stuff in the race for him, that's a bit of a kind of concern. But keep an eye on it for you. But yeah, £64 million for Ederson, I think, is a little bit out of our price range personally, but give us your thoughts on that in the comments. Amorim has prioritised other positions over a goalkeeper this summer, and Andre Onana is determined to make a success of his Manchester United career. So Chris Wheeler suggesting that Ruben Amorim is not going to prioritise a goalkeeper. We're looking, striker, forward, midfielder, centre-half, I think are the kind of four main areas, but it will depend on sales. That's the kind of report. If we are going to go for a goalkeeper, then Onana would need to be sold. We'd need to get some cash in and then obviously replace him then as well. It's believed Bayinda might be the one that's going to be going, and then we're going to bring in like a number 2. There's an update on Tom Heaton I'm going to go through in a second with you as well. So, in terms of priority, and I know some of you do think a goalkeeper is a priority. I think a goalkeeper would be a priority as well. But in terms of what the actual, we need goals in the team as much as we do need to stop conceding goals, but we're actually not conceding that many goals and chances under Ruben Amorim. We're just making mistakes at the back. But if you're scoring 3 at the other end and then conceding 1, you still kind of put yourself in a better position to win a game. But yeah, give us your thoughts on that in the comments about the priority. Now, in terms of Onana, Chris Wheeler again was saying that Neom SC's interest in Andre Onana is genuine. However, they would face competition from a number of teams in Europe if Manchester United sell the goalkeeper. So remember, there were stories the other day from, I think it was Santi, saying that Neom are interested, Ben Jacobs saying they're not, so it became a case of who do you believe. Well, Chris Wheeler's also saying that they are interested, so that's 2-1 for interest, so I'm going to tip towards interested at the moment until proven otherwise. But yeah, so that would be, obviously if we do decide to sell Onana, then there would be interest out there in him as well. But Tom Heaton is in talks over a new 1-year contract extension to remain Manchester United's third choice goalkeeper. So that's interesting because there was reports around the, I forget his name, but the Preston North End goalkeeper coming in to be United's number 3. But obviously if Tom Heaton stays, and that kind of links in with what Chris Wheeler was saying about the priority not being the goalkeeper, because if we're prepared to give Tom Heaton another 1-year extension just to have him around as the third choice, maybe they are kind of trying to push all their money and all their budget on the outfield players, the strikers, the midfield, the defense, the number 10 or the attacking kind of positions is seen as the priority, then, fair enough, it is what it is. If that's the kind of priority and we just keep with this, even with the same 3 goalkeepers, even if Bayinda stays for just 1 more year and we could push that kind of problem further down the line, maybe that's the way they're kind of looking at it going off of those reports. But we need to pay attention to it for you. But give us your thoughts on the goalkeeper situation in the comments. And then final story, so Manchester United have not... So I've got around £95 million in cash, which is basically borrowings. And then they got about another £90 million in credit facilities as well. So this was Laurie Whitwell speaking regarding the budget, suggesting that United have got about £95 million in cash, which is still effectively club borrowings. But they've got another £90 million in credit facilities as well to kind of spend. So £90 million on a credit card, basically. All right. And then around £95 million that we can use from the club's kind of cash as well for the transfer window as well. But you've got to remember, if we've got that budget available, like Cunha, for example, is like if you take the £62.5 million for the Cunha deal that we're very likely to kind of go through at the moment, it doesn't come off straight off the 95, it's amortized. So it might be that actually that deal only takes 10 million off of that. So you could get quite a few players with that budget, and that's without player sales. That's without the more redundancies that are coming up as well, because some of the United staff are facing more redundancies in the scouting department and stuff as well. So but Laurie Whitwell was saying we maybe don't want to use the credit facility anymore, because that's what's causing the problems at the moment. Is we're borrowing money and then we're paying interest on it to pay it back, and then it's just we're not creating enough money to be able to kind of sustain that for a long period, which is what Jim Ratcliffe and that was on about as well. But it is what it is for the time being. But it just kind of shows that there is money available, and that's where we're getting the money to get obviously Cunha done early, potentially Delap done early as well, because they're trying to get that deal done as soon as they can as well. But we'll keep an eye on it for you. Give us your thoughts in the comments. Give us your thoughts about all the other topics discussed in today's video. That's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.